So I got some new vessels. I have this vessel specifically already. I actually have 2 of them, but I only had 1 lid. So I had ordered the vessel. They sell them separately sometimes. I don't know why that is. Also, I got, hold on. So I got a few of them so we could make more than 1. Now, this particular mold, I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. All right, so here is what the finished product looks like. It's a very beautiful vessel, and I like to also put on this iridescent finish. And if I have a photo, I'll show you. But looks really pretty, and I don't know. I love this whole, look. This kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, vintage, antique, kind of ornate look. A lot of this stuff I pick out is Nordic style, which is just like a very clean, simple, plain style. So this is definitely not, not normally the style that I pick. But this mold is very hard. As you can see, there's bubbles that like to kind of hang out. So I bought this vibration machine here specifically for this mold, believe it or not, because I loved it so much, and I wanted to make it work. And it's okay if there's, a couple of bubbles, but we're going to try to get out as many as we can. So if you have this specific mold, I am going to show you some things I do to try to limit that. So let's do that. So we got 3. We got my old one, and we got the 2 new guys right here. So let's just get some of those little pieces out. So here's another thing. A lot of these molds I've figured out, right, take about a cup of cement each. So we got 1, 2, 3 cups. Okay, these might be a little less because the walls aren't as thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix together 3 cups of cement, and then we'll get working on the molds. But I'm going to use my old one first. We'll mix up 3, and if we run out, we'll mix up some more. So let's get to it. So I just bought this really large size cup here, and it's great for when you're mixing, larger batches. It's a little bit bigger than this one. So, and I'm going to put my mask on this time because I actually remembered. So, because it does kick up some dust, and you really don't want to be breathing it in. And I forget sometimes. I'm not going to lie to you guys. All right, so let's do our 3 level tablespoons rather, of the white pigment. And I just sped this up. I usually use a ratio of 1 tablespoon to 1 cup of this pigment. And the next step, of course, is to just mix it in. It's really better if you mix this in when it's dry rather than trying to mix it in while it's wet. It just incorporates it better. Okay, and I'm starting to mix this up, but I'm not going to show you guys the full mixing process. I have a couple of other videos where you could see that. But the one thing I do want to show you guys is that I added this stuff called flow control. And what this does is it basically makes things a little bit more kind of watery. It changes the consistency a little bit, and it stops it from setting up so quick. So it gives you a little bit of more working time. And so I only use a very little bit. I don't even measure it out. I kind of just like I'm cooking. I put a little pinch of it in the mixture, and it'll just kind of help extend the working time that we have a little bit because we're mixing such a large amount. I feel like we kind of need that. It also kind of thins it out so it doesn't set up so quickly. And that's especially the case when I'm working with this specific mold. I like to make the mixture a little bit more runny, but also this mold I feel like takes a little bit more work than say like a straight mold that doesn't have any detail in it. I need to work with this one a little bit more. I need to squeeze it more and play around with it a little more to get most of those air bubbles out. And so the extra working time is definitely a benefit, especially when you're doing multiple molds at the same time. So that's another reason I kind of like to add it to this mix. All right, so this is pretty much the consistency that I normally like to use. You see that? See how it runs off? And this is always a good way to check your consistency, to kind of run it off whatever you're mixing it with. You could use anything to mix, you could use wood, you could use a paint stirrer, which is what I used to use, but I don't find these too comfortable on your hand. You could use a spoon, you could use a spatula like I have. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more water. ever so slight amount. I find like this is a nice texture right here. Perfect. Okay, so now here we go with this mold that is very difficult. So we're gonna do a few things here. Number one, we're gonna put it on our vibrating machine. That is always gonna help reduce as many bubbles as we can. So let me turn that on. And I only turn it halfway. I can't see it, but I could hear it. I'm just gonna start pouring some of that in there. You wanna go little bits at a time so it has some time. Now, here's one of the tricks. Turn this puppy up all the way and let it kind of spread down on the mold. You see the bubbles coming out, and it's kind of filling that side. But this one, okay, I like to turn it this way. Don't worry about it spilling. You could do it over your container. Okay, if it's, you know, if you're working in a house or something, which I honestly don't suggest that you do. And I'm just squeezing the sides, squeezing the sides. And this is gonna kind of coat the inside of it. Hopefully help us get rid of the bubbles. So let's go with our second pour. And that's why I also use the flow control in this, because this one is definitely time consuming. This needs just a tad bit more water. See all those bubbles? It's a lot. I'm also going to take a barbecue skewer, use the same one over and over again because the cement doesn't stick to it. And I'm just gonna get down in there, kind of work out some of these bubbles. I don't know what that is, but that's all right, whatever, it's fine. You see, we really want to keep going around and squeezing out as many of the bubbles as we can possibly get, because there's so many little places for them to get trapped in this mold. So again, kind of tilt it to the side without spilling it. This way it kind of forces it in those spots. All right, keeping it on here is definitely going to help out too. And we'll just top this off. I like to put my round vessels on a cup to help them keep their shape. This one needs a rather large size cup, so I use these plastic cups all over the place in here. And I don't care what kind of vessel it is, it helps. Let me just mix up just a little bit more because it's sitting here. You see all these little bubbles? That's what we want to get out. So let's pop those. And again, you can do a couple of drops down on the counter here. Let's turn that off for a second. Give it a couple of drops on the counter, because that'll also kind of help it get those bubbles out. This just mold is, you know, it's made for resin at the end of the day, so we have to try to make it work for us. Okay, red Solo cup. This isn't the actual name brand Solo, and I probably could take a little off the top here. Just put that back in there. Okay, so it's going to keep it nice and round at the bottom, and especially because, you know, this is one that has a lid on it, and you definitely want to have a round opening. So let's go put this aside. So now let's do the lid, because the lid could also be tricky too. So here's my trick with the lid. I'm just gonna lay it down here. Actually, no, put it on our machine. One day I'm gonna get a bigger machine. Oh boy, I got some dry mixing here. Somehow we'll just mix that in, that's all right. And so I first start off with just pouring out, you know what, that's coming off my gloves. So let me clean my gloves. Okay, and there's if you see in there, you could see the little knob. So I'm kind of squeezing that in there to get out any air bubbles, because it loves to get an air bubble right here at the tip. So you want to try to make that not happen. And another thing I do for that is just put the barbecue skewer in there and try to get out as many little air pockets as we can. Okay, and we just continue. It's always good to keep a little barbecue skewer. You can get them at Dollar Tree, and in fact I plan on doing a video on Dollar Tree supplies, because let me tell you, it's great. I was never a Dollar Tree shopper until I started doing this, to be quite honest with you. I've gotten so many great things, even molds, even things you could, not silicone molds, but things you could use as a mold to make things. So, all right, so we're just doing the same thing. I'm gonna lift it up. I'm gonna make sure we squeeze that air, any air out of that little top part. Okay, and then we're just going to finish filling it. Now this is where it gets tricky, this mold. It has this little overhang here, and if you look inside, you could kind of see, okay, that it's not filling out. I don't know if you guys could see it. There's some orange pigment on here. That's not good. That's not good. So I see a little bubble right there, and it's not coming out for some reason. So sometimes I'll peel it back just a tad. Oop, I see another one right there. And you can't always see them because sometimes, you know, you get cement on them and that little guy's trapped in there. Like that, see? Now I lost it. But, I mean, if there's a couple of little bubbles in the mold, it's not gonna, you know, kill anybody. But I'd like to get out as many as I can. So, hopefully that one came out. I can't really see much right now. Let's see. Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, and so you want to keep going around there if you see any. And then I like to fill this mold up. So there's a little extra bit here that's probably like 1/8 of an inch, not even 1/16 of an inch. It does make a difference. This kind of little lip there holds it on. Now this mold is tricky too because this bottom part, sometimes you don't want it bent, so make sure you lay it flat on the table. That's another important thing to note. Okay, so then I finished putting the rest of the mixture that I had in the rest of the lids, just doing the same thing that I was doing, you know, really working with these in every way, shape, and form to get the bubbles out. I mean, of all the molds that I have, these are probably the most difficult to try to get the bubbles out. But anyway, so as you guys remember, I measured 3 cups of cement. And when all was said and done, I had enough to fill up 3 vessels and 2 lids. And then I ran out. And typically I want to, you know, keep the lid and the vessel part, the cup part, from the same batch. But in this case, I put this like iridescent paint on them when I'm done. And so, you know, even if the color is off just slightly, it'll probably not be that noticeable because I put that iridescent paint on it, you know, and you're not really going to see it too much. We'll see how it comes out tomorrow when we demold these. But anyway, yeah, I mean, usually I like it to match. So I had to mix up another cup. So in all, I would say to fill 3 of this type mold and lid, it's going to take around 4 cups of cement for you to do that. You know, maybe a little less, maybe like 2.5 cups. So you're going to have to split the recipe in half. I use 1 cup of cement and then 1 tablespoon of the titanium dioxide. So you have to split that up. But I always make a little extra, you know, just in case anything happens. And then I have little things around, you know, smaller molds that I like to make things in. So it always gets used up. I always use it, pretty much my mixtures all the time. So really nothing ever really goes to waste here. I always find some way to fill it, and I always try to use every last drop. And when I do, I have, you know, little extra gifts that I could give to people. So nothing really goes to waste. I got some mixture left here, and I don't like to throw anything out. So what I do is, believe it or not, you might think that there's nothing left in there, but and you might be right, but I think we could fill up like a little, maybe like something like this. Let's see what we got. Yeah, we might be able to do that. Let's take some pigments. You know what? I'm making something for a friend who loves the color purple. Let's see. Let's make her some more because she lost her mom, and she's been a very good friend to me who I actually met here on YouTube. We connected through kidney failure, right? My mom had kidney failure and she's dealing with it, and we've been friends for about 6 years now, although we never met in person. We talk a lot, and she lost her mom, and boy, she's been really down in the dumps about it. You know, she lost her mom suddenly. Her mom went away, and oh, it's just terrible. She's been having a really hard time you know, I lost my mom too, so, you know, we kind of connected through that, through kidney failure, and then my mom passing. And then I have a series about it here on my channel, about what I went through. And you know, I just like to do things to make her feel better. So if this helps her, just having something to you know, enjoy, even if it's a little something. Maybe she could put her rings in here. I'm gonna send it to her. I got quite a few things to send to her. And I make these really cute memorial dishes, and it's like a candle with 2 angel wings on the side, and I put in memory of, you know, mom, dad, or I have an option where you could do it custom. And I'm making her one of those too. I sent her a resin piece for her dog, actually, a while back, which is pretty cool. I took her dog's hair that she happened to hold on to, and we put it in resin, and I made a necklace. So I sent her a few cement things. It was before I even had my website, and I was kind of just getting started. And you see that? We were able to scrape out just enough to make this little dish. I think it's pretty much full. Let me squeeze the sides here. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to show you guys that nothing really goes to waste here. You could always find a little mold to put stuff in, you know, whatever's left of your mixture, and then give those little things away as gifts. I don't even have these listed on my website as of right now, but I do give them away sometimes. I've pretty much given all my son's teachers some type of cement gift, whether it's a flower pot with a little plant in it or something, for the last like couple of years, except this year because he had a male teacher, so I didn't really want to give him a flower pot. But yeah, so I just finished up filling up the lid mold, and I just mixed up another cup. And of course, the lid mold didn't take that whole cup up. So I found yet another thing that I could fill up, which was a little seashell tray that I do sell on my website. But it's always good to have extras on hand, you know, in case somebody buys one. And I have a feeling when the summer comes, people are going to be looking for that summery kind of decor. And I'll be adding a couple of more summery items soon. So tomorrow, we'll see how everything turned out. Okay, so it's the next day. Let's demold these and see what we got going on. Let's see if we were able to prevent some of the bubbles. So let's see what we got. Now, I know there's going to be some because, you know, that's just what it is. But the goal is to just get out as many as we possibly can, right? Because if you don't mess around with this at all, you're just going to have tons. And I'm actually pretty impressed. You know, there's a few really small ones, but I'm okay with those as long as there's not, you know, a million. And I feel like we got out. Look at that. Look how great that came out. All right. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself right now. So let's get that out. We just want to, my rings always have a tendency to scratch things. So I'm just trying to be a little extra careful. The middle part's always the hardest, but check that out. I think we did a really, really good job of getting, you know, most. There's one there, there's one there, but I mean, this is beautiful. It came out really, really, really good. And I could show you guys some of my older ones where, you know, I first started out with these and had no idea how to get the bubbles out. So you guys could kind of see there's more. This one it's not terrible, but there's a lot more bubbles. You see those bigger ones up there. So we definitely figured out a way to kind of prevent most of these. So we'll set that aside. Let's do one of the lids. And unfortunately, I don't know which lid is which, but we also, you know, it's just taking that extra little time to, you know, make sure that things are okay. Now, this mold particularly is hard to get the lid off. So you got to be really careful because I have broken the top part off before. So you don't want to, kind of just want to loosen it up a little bit first. And again, my ring is going to scratch it. I should probably take that off. There we go. And there we go. We have a beautiful demolded lid. I didn't get some of those bubbles, but I'm okay with that because they're underneath. And this is why I was saying, make sure you fill that mold, that little extra, you know, 16th or 1/8 of an inch, whatever you want to call it, because that is what holds it on to the lid, to the thing, so it doesn't slide around. So there we go. We got one pretty nice piece. Yes, there's, you know, a few bubbles, but we got out the bulk of them, and so I'm okay with this, you know. I'm okay with this. And I think this might be the last lid that we did, because I noticed that the color might be a little different. So that might be that last batch that I mixed up. These are gonna lighten up as they dry. Right now there's still moisture in there, and so they don't look that white. So this will definitely lighten up a little bit as it dries. Okay, so I just sped this up because there's really no need for you to watch me doing this 3 times. I think they all came out really good. I was really able to get the bubbles out for the most part. Of course, there's going to be some, but the goal here was to just get out as many as we possibly can and kind of minimize the amount of bubbles. So each mold that you have, you kind of need to just find different ways to work with it to make sure that, you know, it comes out as good as it possibly can. And I think this one's one of the harder ones that I have. I have another mold with detail. It's like an owl, and that one also has a tendency to get bubbles, so I kind of got to do the same thing, just take a little extra time and work with it just to make sure that I get out as many of those air bubbles as possible. But with these, as long as the bubbles are tiny, they kind of fill up when I paint them, so I'm not really too worried about them. And from far away, it's like a Monet picture, you know. From far away, when you look at it, it looks like something, and of course if you're inspecting it up close, you're going to see all the little imperfections. But to me, the vessel is just so beautiful. I feel like even with the little tiny imperfections in it, you know, it just looks so pretty. And especially when you put that iridescent paint on it, it really just brings out the detail. So that is what I do for this particular mold to try to reduce the amount of bubbles. And again, you're never going to get every single one of them, but at least you get a good amount, you know, working with it. So yes, so that's that. I'm gonna paint these. I have vessels now to put some wax in. I'm still kind of testing these, but I tried this coconut apricot wax from Virginia Candle Supply, and it's a really nice wax, and I feel like it goes good with this. And then I use this scent called Pink Sugar Crystals in here. So super girly, super just pretty, you know. I feel like it's just a little bit more high-end looking, so that's why we use a little nicer wax in there. So that's that. All right, see you guys next time.